The year is 1961, and the world is at its peak. The Cold War has reached new heights due to the intense competition between the United States and the Soviet Union for global supremacy. While most eyes are on the moon, where the United States is rapidly advancing its lunar ambitions, a secret race is taking place. The competition is not for the moon, but for Venus, a very evil planet known as Hell. But why did the Soviet Union, a superpower with limited resources and a weak economy, invest heavily in a planet that most scientists thought was uninhabitable? What secrets did Venus hold, and why did the Soviets have trouble finding those secrets? The answers to these questions are buried in the annals of history, in a series of missions that pushed the boundaries of human knowledge and challenged the expectations of time. These missions, known as the Venera program, were a major attempt by the Soviet Union to discover Earth's missing sister planet. Over 2 decades, the Venera program saw 28 spacecraft, 13 of which entered the atmosphere of Venus and 8 of which successfully landed on Venus. Despite these achievements, Venus work has been largely overlooked, overshadowed by the achievements of the Apollo program. But as NASA shifts its focus back to Venus, spurred by recent discoveries hinting at the possibility of life, it is time to revisit the story of the Venera missions and uncover the mysteries that still surround this hellish planet. Venus, the second planet from the Sun, has long been a subject of fascination for astronomers and scientists. With its similar size and composition to Earth, Venus was once thought to be a potential twin of our own planet. However, as scientists began to study the planet more closely, they discovered that Venus was anything but hospitable. The planet's thick atmosphere, composed primarily of carbon dioxide, creates a runaway greenhouse effect that traps heat and raises surface temperatures to over 450 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead. The atmospheric pressure on Venus is 90 times that of Earth, similar to the pressure at a depth of 900 meters underwater. In addition, clouds of sulfuric acid surround the planet, creating a toxic and corrosive environment that is fatal to all forms of life as we know it. Given these extreme conditions, it's no wonder Venus is called the planet from hell. The idea of sending a spacecraft to this dangerous planet seemed impossible, and many scientists believed that attempts to explore Venus would be doomed. But despite these challenges, the Soviet Union was determined to make Venus a priority in its space exploration. The question is why? The Venera project was born out of a combination of scientific curiosity, geopolitical strategy, and Cold War rivalry. In the early 1960s, when the space race between the United States and the Soviet Union was heating up, the two superpowers looked for ways to outdo the other. For the United States, light is the ultimate treasure, a goal that reflects the importance of technology and serves as a powerful symbol of American independence. But for the Soviet Union, the moon was less beautiful. The Soviet Union's space program had many serious problems in its lunar ambitions, and the prospect of directly competing with NASA for the moon seemed at worst. However, Soviet officials began to look for other targets, and Venus quickly emerged as a leading candidate. Unlike the moon, Venus is an uncharted territory, and science has a lot of potential. The planet's proximity to Earth, it's 40 million kilometers away, compared to Mars' 250 million kilometers, makes it a better target for exploration. Also, by focusing on Venus, the Soviet Union could carve out a niche for itself in planetary exploration, as opposed to the US's focus on the Moon and Mars. But there was another strategic reason for the Soviet Union's interest in Venus. The Cold War was not only a competition between ideologies, but also a competition for military capabilities. Soviet military planners knew that Venus would play an important role. Earth's dense atmosphere and high surface temperatures make it a good testing ground for new technologies, especially those related to atmospheric entry and landing. In addition, the data collected from Venus may be used for military purposes, such as the development of heat-resistant materials and advanced communication systems. With these ideas in mind, the Soviet Union launched the Venera project in 1961 with the goal of becoming the first country to see Venus and uncover its secrets. The early years of the Venera project were marked by many challenges and failures. The first Venera probes, launched in the early 1960s, were plagued by technical problems and failures. Venera 1, the first spacecraft in the series, was launched in February 1961, but lost contact with Earth shortly after launch. Venera 2, launched in November 1965, suffered a similar fate and did not transmit data before burning through the Venusian atmosphere. These early failures were a source of frustration for Soviet scientists and engineers working under intense pressure to produce results. The Soviet Union's space program was highly political, and the inefficiencies were evident not only for the program but for the country as a whole. The Soviet leadership wanted to demonstrate the importance of its space program, and the pressure was on to succeed. Despite these challenges, the Soviet Union survived. The initial failures of the Venera project were not entirely unexpected. Venus presented many unprecedented technical challenges. The extreme temperature and pressure on the planet's surface required the development of all new technologies, from heat-resistant materials to advanced communication systems capable of transmitting data through the thick atmosphere of Venus. The turning point of the Venera program came in 1966 with the launch of Venera 3. Although the spacecraft did not transmit data to Earth, it was the first man-made object to reach the surface of a planet in its fall. To Venus, this is a milestone in the history of space exploration and shows the ability of the Soviet Union to reach Venus. Although the mission was unsuccessful, the success of Venera 3 was followed by many other successes. Venera 4, launched in 1967, was the first spacecraft to transmit data from the atmosphere of another planet. The study returned important data on the composition of Venus' atmosphere, confirming that it is mostly carbon dioxide, with little water vapor and nitrogen. The discovery was a major breakthrough, as it provided the first direct evidence of extreme conditions on Venus and confirmed that the planet's atmosphere is much worse than previously thought. Building on the success of Venera 4, the Soviet Union continued to refine its technology and improve its understanding of Venus. Venera 5 and Venera 6, both launched in 1969, were designed to gather detailed information about the Earth's atmosphere. These probes are equipped with advanced equipment to measure atmospheric pressure, temperature, and chemical composition. The data collected by these missions reveal the atmosphere of Venus, reveal the presence of sulfuric acid clouds, and confirm the extreme heat on the planet's surface. The greatest achievement of Venera's early missions came in 1970 with the launch of Venera 7. This spacecraft was the first spacecraft in history to land on another planet and transmit data to the ground. Venera 7 was designed to survive the harsh conditions of Venus for so long that it could transmit data for 23 minutes before collapsing into the planet's harsh environment. The data provided by Venera 7 confirmed what scientists have long suspected. Venus is a very dangerous planet. The surface temperature was measured at 475 degrees Celsius, and the atmospheric pressure was 90 times that of Earth. These conditions are far more dangerous than anything on Earth, and are a major challenge for exploration. The success of Venera 7 was a major victory for the Soviet space program. This is the first time that humans have successfully landed a spacecraft on another planet and received data from the surface. This achievement cemented the Soviet Union's position as a leader in space exploration and demonstrated the capabilities of the space program. The 1970s were a golden age for the Venera project. Building on the success of Venera 7, the Soviet Union began a series of more challenging missions to Venus. These missions are designed to gather information about planetary, surface, and ground conditions. Venera 8, launched in 1972, was the first spacecraft to study the surface of Venus. The probe is equipped with instruments to measure the chemical composition of surface rocks, as well as spectroscopy to analyze the Earth's crust. Venera 8 confirmed that the surface of Venus is composed of basaltic rocks, similar to the volcanic rocks found on Earth. The success of Venera 8 was followed by the launch of Venera 9 and Venera 10 in 1975.